Hey everybody, ronarray here, and during this league I did a few builds with tremendous damage, reaching almost half a billion of DMG in one skill cast. But what if you will go another way and make the build that will face tank everything in the game with no effort at all? And it will be just... So here it is, my Fire Whirling Smith of Kitava build, the ultimate tank. This build has hundreds of thousands in both HP and elemental hit pool together, so the build can tank any one-shotting abilities in the game, including the ones from T4 Arbiter 2, and can just AFK in mobs without the risk of dying. Want to just stay in both Whirlwinds and Tier 4 King in the Mist and survive? Easy. Build can regenerate 2000 energy shield per second, even while being attacked, so sustain is just amazing. And you have a recharge of energy shield on top of it too. And all of that while having a very comfortable clear with decent AoE and a pretty moderate budget. Want to know how the build works and why it is so tanky? Let's go and I will explain everything. Don't forget to check the timestamps for topics if you need them too. So to get that build to the crazy tankiness, we are going to utilize a different set of passives from Smith of Kitava himself. First off, we are going to utilize Forged in Flame. It gives us modifiers to maximum fire resistance, also grant maximum cold and lightning. That way we will be able to make all our resistances 90%, which is going to make us pretty tanky by itself. But we're also going to combine Energy Shield Armor, which is going to be normal, with a pretty decent amount of numbers, together with Leather Binding. It gives us body armor, grants regenerate 5% of maximum life per second, which is pretty amazing by itself. On top of it, we are going to use Ligurium Talisman Lapis Amulet, which is going to give us life regeneration is applied to Energy Shield instead. Combined with Leather Binding, it's going to provide huge regeneration, up to 1000 Energy Shield per second at all time, which is absolutely amazing. And the rest of the passives are going to provide us additional physical damage reduction together with maximum fire resistance and 20% increase STR. But when we are talking about STR, there's a cool technique how we can utilize it to make our energy shield bigger. If you're going to use a special jewel called Heroic Tragedy, when a lot of passives around conquered by Varana, you will be able to get a passive called Blacksmith Training. It will give you gain no inherit bonus from STR, but 1% increase energy shield per every 2 STR. And that's a very big bonus because it's going to improve our energy shield significantly. That way we can reach a huge number up to like 15, 17 or even 20k of energy shield, together with the huge regeneration that I already mentioned. That technique is going to make our character very tanky. Since we have a lot of open spirit, we can also utilize Enfeeble, together with pretty nice bonus of vitality, if we can stack it in to get even more regeneration. And in the tree, we're just going to pick as much energy shield as possible, because that way we'll be tankier, tankier and tankier. And as the last step, we will be able to utilize a shield, which is going to give us up to 45% block chance, which feeling very good in maps because we are going to block almost 0.5% of all attacks. All of that together with gifts from above ring, which is give us you have consecrated ground around you while stationary. So when you're going to stand in one place, you're going to receive a huge regeneration from consecrated ground too. And since we're going to play Whirling Slash, we can also utilize Font of Blood, which providing 2% life regeneration per second to you and your allies when you have a big Whirling Slash around. All that techniques stuck together are going to provide very big tankiness overall. And right now, let's talk about the skills. After that section, I'm also going to explain rotations that you will need to do in every map. Please don't miss it, otherwise build will not be really functional. So our main damaging skill is Incinerate. Incinerate is going to create a burning ground, so when you're burning with it for long enough, as you can see it's leaving a little burning ground right here. We will be able to cast the Whirling Slash and pick it up, so our Whirling Slash becomes like ignited, and all the enemies that are reaching that burning slash are pretty much going to receive damage from ignite from Incinerate. That way we will need to stack Magnitude of Ignite and Ignited Ground bonuses for Incinerate to maximize our damage. For the supports, we are going to use Searing Flame, because that way we will have significantly more Magnitude of Ignite. Together with Burgeon, make sure that you're channeling the skill at least like 4 seconds, but most of the time it's happening anyway, because it's providing huge damage bonus of 40%. Considered casting, we don't really care that much about cast speed, but 35% more damage is very good. Concentrated effect, because we don't really need any kind of AoE at Incinerate itself. Our AoE will be provided by Whirling Slash. And Hourglass, that way we'll just receive free 30% of additional damage, and cooldown is not big of an issue. And after that, we're going to use a big Whirling Slash, which is going to be a main part that we are going to carry with us through the whole area. That way we can run like Reach, Magnified Effect, and the last support should be Font of Blood. Font of Blood is going to provide additional life regeneration per second for our character, which is making our tankiness significantly better, so I recommend to have Font of Blood always up at the big Whirling Slash. After that, we are going to use a smaller Whirling Slash. So big one is here just to provide a very big AoE for the build, and that Whirling Slash we are going to constantly use to move around. Here we have like Martial Tempo, we have like Energy Barrier, together with Lacerate and Culling Strike. And that Whirling Slash is here mostly to provide fast movement speed across the area. You don't really need anything except Martial Tempo. And Energy Barrier is pretty nice, because since we are constantly using the skill, if we are getting stunned, Energy Barrier is going to give us Energy Shield Recharge, which is huge for that build. And Lacerate is here mostly because we are going to combine it with a Bossing Spear to make sure that we are bleeding enemies often enough. Culling Strike is pretty much obvious as well, we will just cull most of the enemies with it without a lot of issues. So both Whirling Slash skills should be pretty low level. I recommend to keep them amount like level 2 to level 5. I have one at level 6 and one at level 5 right here. And Incinerate should be as high as possible. So here I'm using the Blasphemy, because I think auras providing a very good benefits. And generally you can run it with Enfeeble, Ritualistic Curse and Despair. However, if you don't have enough Spirit or you feel like you want to maximize your damage, you can move Despair out of your Blasphemy and just self-cast your Despair on bosses or rares or anything else. That way Despair is going to take much more chaos resistance out of the enemies. I used it specifically against bosses with a lot of health, such as Arbiter, but usually it just adding like 10 seconds to the speed of the kill, so I prefer not to bother, it just run it into the Blasphemy itself. Here we have a Withering Presence, which is pretty nice. It's going to wither the enemies around us, mostly just improving the chaos damage that they are taking. Our Incinerate is going to deal a chaos damage since we are going to utilize Black Flame Amethyst Ring. That way Withering Presence is a very important part to maximize our damage, so make sure that you always have it. And here comes the skills that we have only in the second weapon set. So in the second weapon set I have like Convalescence together with Mysticism. Mostly for Mysticism bonus itself, but you can click Convalescence in some particular situation if you feel like it. I'm really feeling like it's not really necessary, and mostly keep it in build just for Mysticism itself. Also make sure that Blasphemy is working only in the first weapon set, and Withering Presence is working only in the first weapon set too, so you'll have enough spirit in your second weapon set. I also have Skeletal Sniper right here, 3 of them in the second weapon set, which is pretty important, because we are going to utilize Soul Offering, together with Dance Macabre, Ablation, Font of Mana and Persistence. So rotation for all of that should be pretty simple. When you enter in the map, you will need to create a burning ground. So first off, set your weapon, set like to 2. After that, cast your Soul Offering and start using Incinerate. Right after you will see a burning ground, use a big Whirling Slash. And after that, start using small Whirling Slashes to move around. So that's pretty much it, and you will never need to recast if everything goes fine. Make sure that first you're using a big Whirling Slash with like a reach, magnified effect and expand. So I, for example, have it on the separate button, just like on my mouse button. And after that, I have only small Whirling Slashes, which I'm going to use to move around. The only way how you can lose that beautiful combination, if at some point you will leave the big Whirling Slash. So if you stop casting Whirling Slashes to move around and just go out of that, it's going to disappear. In that case, you will need to do everything again. You will practically need to summon your skeletons, put them on the spike, just cast Incinerate again, pick it with a big slash and start moving around again. It's not really comfortable until you will get used to it. Unfortunately, to build an ultimate tank, using a Whirling Slash is probably the best way, because even if abilities have some issues, it can provide a very decent damage without investing too much in the weapons and in the character itself. Now let's talk about our items and what we can utilize to make the build as tanky as possible. So here currently my stats at level 90, it should be a little higher, around level 95, but even with those stats we're just like ultimately tanky compared to almost any possible Whirling Slash build. So we have 16.5 energy shield, together with 2k energy shield regeneration, pretty basic recharge which will be restarted by like convalescence or when we are getting stunned, together with 90% all resistances and 40% block, which is absolutely amazing for mapping, farming Simus or doing anything in the game. You will be able to withstand any kind of damage with such setup. Just regeneration is going to generate enough sustain for your build, so you will feel amazing in almost all situations. And about the items, the most important part right here is using a combination of Black Flame Amethyst Ring, which is going to give us a very cool bonus. Enemies ignited by you take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignite. That way, most of the bosses and rares will have like 0% chaos resistance, and we don't really need to care about penetration. It also gives us increased magnitude of ignite you inflict. You can buy a ring with like corruption with increased damage, but it's not too necessary. To regenerate our energy shield, we are going to use Ligurium Talisman. It gives us life regeneration is applied to energy shield instead, which is very cool. And that's the main source of all our regeneration. As the second ring, I'm running Gifts from Above. It gives me consecrated ground around you while you're stationary, and provides half of our total energy shield recovery per second. So when we are moving, it's 1000, but when we are staying at one place, that's like 2000, and that's absolutely amazing. I heavily recommend that ring, because right now it can provide everything that we need and mostly survivability. Getting like increased damage on it together with elemental resistances is pretty nice too. As a belt, we're going to use Inferno class plate belt. I don't really think you need to aim for +6-1, even +5 is enough, because we will be able to get all resistances to 90% without a lot of issues. If you can get like increased maximum energy shield on the belt, I think it's definitely worth the investment. And at the gloves, I'm going to run like maximum amount of attack speed together with fire resistance and some energy shield. At the boots, we don't need any kind of movement speed, so you can just get as much energy shield as possible together with some resistances and intelligence. Most of the time just fire will be enough. And at the helmet, I'm running intelligence again and fire resistance. Intelligence is pretty important because we will need to reach good enough level of intelligence, so we will be able to literally run our gems. Incinerate level 21 requires 205 intelligence, so make sure you have enough. And for the body armor, we are going to utilize cool bonuses from Kitava, as I already mentioned, so you can get a basic body armor corrupted around 370-380 energy shield. It could be like additional increased energy shield % corruption, or just 3 per rune. Buy any that will work, but make sure it's normal. And the last part is like the shield. For the shield we need to get intelligence, resistances again, and as high block as possible, together with some energy shield in general. Right now I have only 40% and some resistances with intelligence, but such shield I bought for a very low price and it's feeling pretty good to run even that. As a weapon, we're going to use Sky Silver Winged Spear. You need to get as much attack speed right here as possible, like 28, 29 would be good, and double socket corruption. For the double socket, I recommend to use skill speed, or if it's too expensive for you, attack speed runes. Because that way you will be able to cast your Whirling Slash like much faster, and it will be very comfortable for you to move around. And here comes just the swaps. We don't really need to use any kind of life flask, and as mana flask I'm running Melting Milestorm. Even if it's not providing crazy bonuses, it's still pretty nice to regenerate mana with it. So right now let's talk about the possible swaps to improve the situation. So against bosses, I heavily recommend, especially like the pinnacles, I heavily recommend to replace your spear with Saita Spear Barbet. Because that way you will be able to aggravating ignite on enemies. So spear itself will give you a chance to cause bleeding on hit, and aggravating any bleeding with this weapon also aggravates all ignites on the target, which is pretty nice right now. And we have chance to aggravate bleeding right here too. So that way you just replacing your Sky Silver with Saita is very basic, you don't need to change anything else. But keep in mind that you will need 60 dexterity for Saita, because it's a pretty important number. Without it, you will be unable to use item. As the runes, I recommend increase skill speed again or attack speed runes too, so just swap it for the bosses. And another interesting way to improve our damage is swapping Fire Flower Solar Amulet and Diadertineur Stitch Gloves in. So that's a very basic idea which can help you against like pinnacle bosses, or even in maps if you like it. I usually prefer not to swap it in maps because it's a little too much hassle, but you can do that for pinnacle bosses. So when you're entering your pinnacle, take the Retinue, make sure that you have like 2 sockets and add 2 intelligence gems in, because otherwise you will lack intelligence, and Fire Flower Solar Amulet. I heavily recommend to allocate Immolation on the amulet, because it's going to provide additional magnitude of ignite and it's going to work good. On the basic amulets that we are using like Ligurium, I recommend to allocate Unnatural Resilience, since it's going to provide a lot of maximum fire resistance for us. So after you swap both items in, you're doing everything in the same fashion. When you're entering the boss, you're just like swapping the second set, you're using the pile, you're casting Incinerate, and after it created Burning Ground, you're using a big Whirling Slash. After you use the Whirling Slash, it's already snapshotted the damage, so you can just replace first the amulet, and after that the gloves. That way, your damage is going to be snapshotted from the moment when you had like Fire Flower up together with Deader Tenor. Both of those items are going to provide significant increase for your damage, so I recommend to use them for pinnacle bosses, especially for Arbiter. So after that, if you're going to fight a boss, just swap the spear and fight it. If you're not going to fight a boss, you can even use that technique in the maps to improve your damage significantly if you prefer it. Until you will stay in your big Whirling Slash, it's going to deal damage snapshotted from the moment when you had both amulets and gloves on. So that's a pretty important tag, and keep it in mind, I heavily recommend it for pinnacles. The only important part right here is that you will need to keep in mind that you will need to have enough intelligence and dexterity in both sets, especially in weapon set 2 if you will have like intelligence on your shield. I heavily recommend to get it on some other items such as boots or helmet, to make sure that you always have enough. So in the first set I have 2027, and in the second set I have 2024, as you can see. It's helping a lot to make sure that everything's working properly. So make sure your stats in both weapon sets are working exactly as intended. Now let's talk about the 3, and 3 here is pretty flexible. I will start with unique things, and here we are using Heroic Tragedy, as I already mentioned. If you can get a corruption with intelligence or STR or dexterity, it's going to be even better. You don't need to care about the numbers, you just need to have like of Varena. Varena is the main reason why we are using Heroic Tragedy right here. So for Varena, we can get one with like Black Scythe Training. It's going to give gain on inherent bonus from Strength and increasing Energy Shield per 2 STR. That's an amazing bonus and it's providing a lot of Energy Shield to us. So make sure that you have it up. Everything else doesn't matter, but here for example I have an interesting idea to use Scorched Earth with like fire damage and intelligence. I'm not playing it right now because it could be different way to get like Heroic Tragedy, and I wanted to test the build in the condition as close to just the basic setup as other people will play it. And since on your Heroic Tragedies there could be no Scorched Earth, I decided not to pick it right now. So after that, you also need to run basic jewels, one of them going to be like from nothing diamond. Its passives and radius of Oasis can be allocated without being connected to your tree. Oasis is right here and you mostly need to jump here to just have a catapult bonus for area of effect and fast acting toxins. It's helping significantly with our ignite because that way we can have like faster damaging ignite and just get all small passives together with magnitude of elements we inflict. It's boosting the damage significantly and just the item itself costs absolutely nothing, so I can definitely recommend it. If you like it, you can also take more area of effect here, but I'm currently not taking that. As the rare jewels, I usually recommend to run ones with like increased maximum energy shield and magnitude of ignite you inflict. If you can have like gain additional stun threshold or faster start of energy shield recharge, it will be appreciated too, but it's not too important. And moving forward, I also have Megalomaniac, because I think Megalomaniac right now could be a very good option to speed up our gameplay. For Megalomaniac, I'm running Catalysis, tenfold attacks and versatile arms. I think it's definitely worth it because it's providing a lot of attack speed. Tenfold can provide up to 10% and versatile arms can provide 6 too. It also gives me dexterity and STR as well, so I can definitely recommend Megalomaniacs like that. If you can't find a Megalomaniac for yourself, you can just run a basic jewel with attack speed on it and it's probably going to be recommended. But if you can afford it or find it, just aim for any attack speed nodes on the tree to be a little faster. It's also not making you much tankier and not helping with the bosses, so it doesn't matter in the long run. And talking about the tree itself, we're starting right here and we're going to use 2 weapon sets. One weapon set is just for survivability and that's the first weapon set, where we have the weapons. And second set is just for damage, so for wound. For the second set, I recommend to pick a lot of passives with bonuses to fire damage, such as Burn Away for example. Or here, up here, I'm taking Volcanic Skin, Burnout, and all those small nodes for a second set. For a second set, I'm also going to the left and taking All Natural because it's additional elemental damage, which is nice. And I'm taking Ingenuity for Intelligence for the second set. You can take it just like with your main points, or for the second set because I have like Intelligence on my shield, and I need more Intelligence when I'm swapping to the second set. So I recommend to take Whisper of Doom for double cursors to boost both survivability and damage from Despair. And since we don't have enough spirit, even if you will take Legroom Talisman with a perfect spirit, like 35 of it, you will still be a little short in spirit overall, so you will need 138. That way, I recommend to take 1 point right here in the first set, which provides 2% spirit. It's pretty important because only with that point you will be able to set all possible auras. Our auras in the first set right now are Blasphemy, Withering Presence, and Convalescence, Skeletal Snipers are going to the second set, so make sure that you have Blasphemy and Withering in the first. Also, you'll need to have quality on Blasphemy, because that way you'll get like reduced reservation. And you'll need to have exactly 138 spirit to fit everything in. So just like double curses, Withering Presence, and that's it for the first set. Make sure that you have that point because it's going to help you significantly. And the rest of the points for like first set is just additional energy shield for survivability. I'm taking all possible sets like here, survivability here, spiral into depression, and right now small nodes on the top as well. If I would have more points, I would obviously take like energy shield here, and probably would go right here for additional damage for potent incantation. My character is only level 90, and even like that I'm just able to literally clear everything, so not a lot of issues with levels in general. And I recommend in the main tree to go to Deep Trance, right there, and also to take Viciousness right there. Because melee attack speed is pretty important, we're moving around with Whirling Slash, and getting lower attack time is going to provide a lot of quality of life. You could be slower and feel like you're clearing slow but surely, but at least taking Viciousness together with a Deep Trance is recommended for you to move faster around. And the rest of the setup is pretty basic. You just taken all possible nodes, like going around with STR because we are receiving energy shield from it, and we are taking all possible just like energy shield nodes here, here, and here around Inner Faith. It's also pretty important to get Wither away right here to make sure that we have increased effect of Withered. It's going to improve your damage significantly, so make sure that you have that up. And Chaos Inoculation is pretty basic too, because that way we are going to be immune to Chaos, which is very good, so take it as well. Another interesting question, why I'm not passing to Ancient Ages? And the answer is pretty basic. I really feel like it's too far to bother. We will need to spend like 4 points just going up until the way to reach Ancient Ages. And since our body armor is not that amazing, we only have 400 energy shield on our body armor. I really feel like Ancient Ages is not really worth it, because it's not providing enough bonuses in my opinion. The only upside going here is for Adamant Recovery to get like better energy shield recharge rate, but I feel like it's necessary only for one fight in the game. And for our Ascendancy, we just need to run basic setup with Skull Stalker and Fortune Flame for maximum fire resistances, and from Smith Masterwork I recommend to take Leather Bindings together with Molten Symbol, Flowing Metal and Support Straps. For Arbiter you can replace Molten Symbol with like Heat Proofing because you will be unaffected by Ignite, but for the rest of the content it will be enough. And another interesting topic that I want to address. In the game there is only one boss that can deal any kind of damage to that build, which is Tier 4 Arbiter. You will be able to kill all the pinnacles without a single issue, but against Tier 4 Arbiter you will need at least a few build changes. So generally, I recommend to replace the shield with Apex Supremacy. It's going to provide huge amount of additional survivability against elemental damage, and mostly fire damage. So it gives 23% of elemental damage from hits taken as Chaos. Since we're immune to Chaos, it's practically 23% less elemental damage taken. It's also going to give energy shield recharge rate together with faster charge of energy shield. I recommend to get it corrupted, so not like 20 but 22 or 23% right here. So with that setup, you will be able to get better chances for recharge, and you will keep your regeneration. Your energy shield will go only a little lower. And you will need to do a few small changes to your tree to make sure you're kicking his ass without a lot of issues. Since we are not going to move around that often, you can just drop all possible nodes with the attack speed, starting pretty much with the Deep Trance right here, and you can also drop melee damage right here too. Make sure that you will need to have enough dexterity, so I recommend to replace a few nodes with dexterity for him. After you save those points, I recommend to invest those 7 points into your shield recharge here and here. And the last point could be practically whatever. It's not really connected to any big bonuses, so you can drop it to just survivability or take like 5 ACR for example. So after that you will have very good setup, because your energy shield recharge delay is going to be only 1.6 seconds, together with 3000 energy shield recharge by itself. That way it will be much easier for you to survive Arbiter. The only moment when you will need to practically move, when he's going to buff you with like a violet buff, you will be able to see it right here, and you will need to run from him like for 10 seconds because he's completely offing your regeneration. But otherwise you will be able to literally face tank all abilities that he's going to cast. And talking about path of building calculation, here is my path of building for finished character. It should be around like level 96. The last points will just go here, as I already mentioned, to potent incantation. You can get even more survivability if you will drop those points and just will go for ancient ages. It can provide like about 17k energy shield, but I don't really feel like it's necessary. And otherwise I would just improve the damage with potent. Another interesting idea right here, that unfortunately path of building can't calculate the node, which is a natural resilience, properly. So my just like resistances in the game is like 90% always, but in path of building without the fix, as you can see, it's calculated as 86. So here is the same character but in the game, and as you can see all my resistances are 90. That way, to fix it, I added like a custom modifier to path of building, so we would have +4 to all maximum resistances to just see our basic elemental max hit pool. That way it will be 90% like in the game as well. So that was my Whirling Slash Ultimate Kitava tank. I hope you will be able to enjoy it too if you decide to play it. And if you will not play it, you can just have fun looking at me tanking everything. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and see you next time. ronarray out.